Good morning. I'm Doreen South. I'm a traditional global worker, or global traditional worker, as the case may be. I'm also an achievement facilitator, a conduit for spirit. This morning, I'm thinking about aftershocks. There's many different types of aftershock. There's the aftershock of earthquakes, of war, and then there's the aftershock of people feeling wronged, caused by a lack of communication, a lack of effective communication, the failure, and I don't mean that in a negative way, to, to get on the same page, to talk with each other and not at each other. And I see it often in my work as I support people into their better places of healing, identity, self-awareness. And today I just feel compelled to talk about this type of aftershock. We have emotional bodies. Eckhart Tolle calls it the pain body, same difference. In this emotional body, we carry negative self messages from past events. And this emotional body acts like a filter between our spirit and our mind, and even between our spirit and our body. What happens when we get contaminated and over contaminated with these negative self messages? We form what's called triggers or buttons, and they are very active. They go off in a moment's notice. They're a detriment to our ability to take a breath and say, "What do you mean by that?" Or "That makes me feel bad. Help me to understand where you're coming from." Oftentimes, these reactions, not responses, good communication, effective communication is a response. A retaliation, a verbal retaliation, a physical retaliation, a passive aggressive retaliation, this is reactionary. Reactionary because people want to protect themselves when they're feeling hurt. So logically, let's make the other person back off or think that they're wrong. It doesn't even come down to a matter of who's right and who's wrong. It comes down to a matter of feeling safe. So there's this reaction that takes place, does a lot of damage. And it's like dominoes. You get a few people, a group of people, a lot of people who are carrying negative self messages, and an event happens and it snowballs. One after the other, trigger, trigger, trigger. And then before you know it, relationships go from precarious to inflamed, damaged, even separate, and not under the best of circumstances. It's so important, this thing we call self-awareness, we talk about it, but how deep is the depth of the consciousness of it, the practice of it. I find that breathing truly is a key, not the only key, but one of the major keys to being able to be aware of the triggers, be aware of the mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual reactions that we're having to things. The flip side of this, and I want to keep the video short, is talking about recognizing when we have made a mistake and learning how to apologize for that in a responsible way. So I encourage everybody to think about aftershocks. Not only what it does to you, but what it's doing to others. Finding the healthy ways of breathing through this, learning how to unburden it, how to heal it, how to heal that past that interferes. And then moving into facing and sitting with the other person and discussing from your heart that's no longer wounded or less wounded, and reaching an understanding. Forgiveness is potent. It's the highest level of healing. If you're in an aftershock, whether it's triggered by an event or whether it's situations that are just pushing at your past, just know that these emotions can be healed, not fixed, but healed. So take the time to be in an active state of self-awareness, and when you feel triggered, I encourage you, breathe. Make every effort not to say something immediately. If you can, excuse yourself. And then get that center. And we'll talk more about that too. So for now, it's aftershocks, awareness, breathing. We'll get more into communication, effective listening, forgiveness. Have a very wonderful day, and remember, breathe.